thank you for the seasons. Not everybody gets to experience seasons like we do, and certainly there's some people maybe not so thankful for winter after these last couple of weeks, but it certainly makes us appreciate that first warm day in the spring, and the first time that we open our windows, and the first time we see flowers and then the grass turning green. We're just so thankful for these seasons, and then the new births and new opportunities and new chances, and we pray that we would be mindful of that in each of our lives, in each and every day. We thank you for all these blessings. We pray for your wisdom and your guidance in this meeting, and especially as we leave this meeting room, and to help us be representatives of you and representatives of people who are compassionate and loving toward others in this community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, Jan, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore.
Present.
Bob Lahey.
Here.
Nathan Conklin.
Present.
Tim Hyde.
Here.
Peter Frias.
Here.
All right. Consent agenda. I trust everyone's had opportunity to review. Any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion for acceptance.
I will move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Tito was second, Bob was first, Jan. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda approved as presented. Department reports, I have two things, and they're both related to the rail industry, of all things, imagine that. The rail tower, we've had tremendous outpouring over this last couple weeks. And first, well, one notable one that stands out to me is just the city of Union, the Randolph Eastern School. Had several faculty members step up and support the tower, and just was awesome. And we've had so many individuals, we have individuals in this room, in fact, that have been such a godsend to this project. And it's just amazing. We are at 42 and change right now with everything given and committed. And so I am hopeful that this is the week that we topple our goal. I really am. We still have roughly, I think it's 28 days left, I believe it is.
Yep.
So we're ahead of schedule, but it's awesome. It really is awesome. And so that begs the next question: what about those stinking poles in the in the Artisan Crossing? I showed Steve my Excel spreadsheet. I had to keep a log now because of my communications with CenturyLink. Yeah, and so I've got to give them a call back in the morning. I've got the work number that they've got me under, a new work number, which is different than the original one they gave me at the end of last year. And so we've got to get that put to bed so we get those cleared out of there. And then my biggest thing is I want to still do a call with Wolf Movers and find out exactly what we need to do on our end, because we're going to have to get serious about site prep and scheduling a date for move. And we've got to get the date scheduled for the move as early as possible, because I've got a lot of folks that want to see this, and I mean physically, and I want TV and radio to know about it too, because it's going to be a chance for us to really promote our community. So then the other thing along the rail lines is the rail spur. We are progressing in our communications. We're still in the infancy stages, but in terms of a rail spur out there, we have had feedback from Workhorse in terms of what their dimensions are and what their requirements are or needs are, that we have in turn through Monte relayed back to CSX, and they have already communicated back with us, and they've been outstanding in this process. What a pleasant surprise. And they said that they are going to be meeting with the appropriate individuals within CSX and to see what they need to do to take this to the next step. So so that's where that's at. So it's in the infancy stages, but it's just we've made more progress than what I would have imagined, traditionally. So department reports. Save that for you. Okay. Jan, clerk treasurer. Okay. Council members. Brandon, let's start with you this time.
I didn't really have anything to share today, but I was going to say about the meeting tomorrow night about
Yes.
the trail. Do you have? I'm trying to think of any other information to share other than that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. No, appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you so much. There is indeed a public hearing tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock in the community room. If you have any affinity at all for the park or for exercise or know anybody that does, please send them up to the community room at 6 o'clock because that does bode well for the grant process. We are in the midst of trying to acquire a $250,000 grant, and it's an 80-20 match, so it is a solid grant, and even the 20% I'm pursuing outside sources for donations, so to help us with the match. And what this would mean, what this entails, is a repaving of the entire path and basically doubling of its size. So it'd be a widening of the path, which would be tremendous. That way people could pass each other, not have to step off the side. And if you've seen the path, it's getting worn. I mean, there's cracks in it here and there. And I mean, it's a good path, but it could use some attention. So, and it's really, really, really often used. Really is, and I can actually speak from some semblance of authority on that as much as I spend time out there. And so I know the people that generally use it, so I've reached out to the Yes Bob. I've reached out to those folks and say, hey, please show your face and speak for it, and so hopefully we can get that grant and get that taken care of.
There's actually a questionnaire going around about
Yes.
that they're asking for us to turn in. So if
Yes.
there are community members that could possibly attend tomorrow or would like a questionnaire filled out, that would be very helpful. I think it bodes well for the possibility of being awarded the grant, right? So
Completely, yes,
yeah.
You're completely right, absolutely. No, thank you so much for bringing that up. Anything else?
Oh no, that's it. That's it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bob?
I had a couple of things.
Yes.
Area Planning Commission meeting from last week. There was 2 petitions for rezoning, one in farmland, one in Winchester, and basically rezoning either from commercial to residential or from residential to commercial. And I've got, if anybody's interested, I got details on those, but that was basically, we gave favorable recommendations to both of those requests. Then they go back to their city councils for the final approval on that. I think I've probably failed to mention that before in the past, but that would be the first thing. And then the second thing, I just wanted to see if anybody, Steve or Chad or anybody, had updates on the new businesses, because it seems kind of like they're just in a limbo or
Right.
in a stagnant form, and nothing's really being done. And
Well, actually, there's stuff
just
being done.
curious. that's
Yeah,
all.
no, good question. April 16th is the official opening date for Roots in their building on the alley. And I'm hopeful that Hometown Coffee is the week before that. Travis is to let me know next week. He said, give me the first week of March, because he knows I want to announce the grand opening date as early as possible to drum up the excitement and the anticipation. So in fact, he says he often watches council meetings, so hi Travis if you're watching. And so yeah, next week I'm looking for a date from him. And again, I'd like for it to be, if possible, a week before Roots. Simply for the fact of playing, or I'd like for them to both be staggered, so they can play off of each other with grand openings. Because they're conjoined, so each one could benefit from the other in opening up. And then Funes is that open, Funes Boutique?
Yeah, the boutique is open at the 209,
Okay.
North Columbia. So we'll be hopefully scheduling her grand opening event sometime first part of March is middle of March. Cian and I discussed that, Missy discussed that, but then Missy has been in California for the last 14 days, so we got to get everybody back in Indiana, and then we'll be able to talk on getting that scheduled. Painted Black Furniture. The building is progressing. That'll be at 232 West Pearl Street. The renovation on that building is progressing. These things are a work in progress. We're doing them with labor as we have manpower available. We've had a couple of setbacks with some COVID exposures and things like that kind of stalled the process for a couple weeks at a time, and that's been with our employees, with Shockney Electric, with, you name it, we've suffered a setback. Jennifer McDonald Photography Studios at 232 and a half West Pearl, again, it's progressing. Both of those facilities are basically waiting on electric to get finished up so that we can get the remodel and the rehab finished up. Chad and I talked about the yoga studio, and I've met with a couple of contractors about that project, and we're going to be launching that and getting that up and running. So,
And then Dan's building, that's not till the summer is what
yeah,
Dan,
group therapy, we were in there today. He's hoping, the painters are in there taping off the inside steel today, hoping the metal warms up by the end of the week with the temperature change so that they can get the inside painted yet this week. The HVAC guys are there now, so he's hoping that's done. As soon as the painting's done, and the painters will also be sealing all the sandblasting work he's done on the walls and the ceiling. So once all that's done, the electricians will come in. They need 3 weeks. And I would say by the end of March, we're going to have a real good visual effect of what group therapy is going to look like for opening, first part to middle part of summer.
yeah, he mentioned summer to me is when he was shooting.
That's great.
And then, is there anything else that's...
Vision Corner, we actually have a floor plan meeting tomorrow afternoon.
I was gonna
Yeah.
bring that up to the Green
4
Monster.
o'clock is with Aaron Black, Rick Clear, John Schmidt. I think Rick's gonna be able to attend, I'm hoping Rick can attend. And then Steve and Monte and myself and Brian, and I think that's everybody. And we'll lay out we're gonna get down on paper the nuts and bolts of the floor plan and start, we wanna get that fine tuned then, so we can send it off to Mike Spillman, who in correspondence with us last week said he's reached out to Lucas Oil, and he mentioned some company in Indianapolis, I didn't recognize the name, so my apologies, but 2 entities that have Ball State personnel working for them, and he's going to get with them regarding getting their input on the floor plan as well. We do know, and Bill Corbin and Aaron Black and I had a meeting Friday, that Aaron wants not only a studio, but also an iPad, or podcast room, I guess I should say, a podcast room, and an office, and I think a meeting room. I think it was the 4th one. He had 4 things. And then he also, what we talked about is he wants to move all of Apache. He has plans or designs on moving Apache down there, including the printing portion of it. So, don't know that definitively yet, so I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but that's been the talk, because that way he would have actually both sections dedicated to Apache. First, so there's 2 sections dedicated to K.I.S.S, 2 sections dedicated to Apache, and then we put because we got plenty of room in the back, so we put Internet Cafe in the back with business incubator space in the back, and still have room left over for artisan space because we've been hearing from all the artists that they need studio space. So, which is all right, because that qualifies us for more dollars, more giving dollars from a grant perspective. So we've got a nice mixture in there, but we've got to get the floor plan laid out so we can start getting serious bids. And we hear still back at as I've shared with you guys, it's the end of March. We hear on the rural development loan, and then I'm trying to think of what else he's got out there. The state historic, or he's got a historic key being Dave Keyser. Has a historic preservation request out also for the project, and I'm trying to remember the date on that one, that we would physically hear. He thought, and I know it's spring, I can't remember if it's March or April when he would hear on that one as well. So yeah, I know it's been frustrating or agonizing in terms of length, because we get the news of what's happening, and then you want it to happen now, as I do too. But we've got certainly a process to follow, but yes.
One last point on that building, the paint, I know it's early yet, but I mean, we waited all last summer basically and fall, and it didn't happen, so I didn't know if there's any discussion on that yet, or?
I've not had a discussion recently with Tom, because Kearns Brothers are the ones painting it,
Right.
and they have the color scheme, and it's just a matter of when he schedules. So that's almost, it's paid for, not by us,
Right.
not by the taxpayers, and it's already picked out, and it's already so it's just a matter of physically being
It'd
done.
be nice to have it done before all the summer
Completely agree.
activities,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. So I will try to get with Tom and see what he's got in mind in terms of scheduling, because I know obviously he's got a very fluid schedule, but I'll see what he's thinking at least, and see if we can start to pinpoint approximate dates. So,
Good.
good question.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm done.
Nate?
Couple exciting things. Oak Street talked to Keith Payne, ARHI Building Remodeling. He has the plans going out and also a meeting with Moten Associates in Greenville to make sure all engineering is going to be good and recorded at the county. And then when weather breaks and we've got some time where they can actually like start digging and pouring and plotting it out on the ground,
Awesome.
that is the short-term plan. So hopefully we'll see some progress, given the snow will start to melt and go away 100%, April, May. I'll keep you guys abreast of that. As for Plum Street, you know, I've been trying to dig into that. We've got a couple different developers having conversations. We got our first kind of quote back from an engineering company that was included in your packet, and they kind of gave us direction on what the next steps would be. But if we look at a developer that would essentially remove that whole packet, remove that whole part that we put in the packet today, and that would no longer fall on city to be responsible for. So it is for kind of an idea to see what the structure and the cost look like. My rough guess was, rough addition was about $30,000 to do the pre-planning and parceling, as well as the topographical map and everything. So that would be nice to not have to put that funds out from the city's perspective. Other than that, there are lots of companies hiring around town in Union City, Winchester, and Greenville. If you are having a hard time trying to find a job, let me know, and I will happily get you in contact with anybody that I know. So, other than that, that's what I've got.
Awesome.
Hey, well,
Thank you.
I have a question. For the Oak Street project, was there some tax thing we needed to do?
TIF,
Yes.
yes. Further clarification was, TIF is in progress, that's actually in this packet, and as long as it was on this calendar year, broken ground this calendar year, it's all included. So had we broken ground in 2020, it would not have been able to be included in 2021 fiscal year.
Okay.
Good to know.
Good.
Excellent. Tim?
I just got a couple of things from Board of Works. One, just a little bit of update on the wastewater treatment plant. The plant is up and operating with the new systems, but there had been a issue with high ammonia numbers, which was somewhat to be expected, but it was a big concern. They've got that completely under control, and actually, I'm going to say better under control than what anybody expected to be at this point.
Yes.
It's not zero, but it's pretty darn near zero. About as close to zero as you're going to get. I don't know. You know, I don't think he wasn't real clear whether what the low point you reach is, but we're darn near there now. And otherwise, there will be one more change order coming on the wastewater treatment grant. We've got still have money left over. We're not going to be able to use up 100% of our money out of that grant, but we've got one more change order that will get a couple of good things taken care of. That'll be upcoming. Oh, do you know when to expect that? Either Steve or Monty? What are we looking at?
Well, he'll probably have that by the end of this week.
Okay, so we should see that. We ought to see something next meeting.
At the next meeting, I would think
Yeah.
that would be.
And another item that everybody will be happy to hear is 120 Oak Street demolition is going to start Wednesday.
Awesome.
So that was one thing we've all wanted to see happen as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then some problem issues has been pointed out about that property, so it's going to be good to get that demo taken care of, and should see that. And so, which I think pointed out that you're going to have to block off Oak Street. So for anybody listening, the Oak Street between Union and State Line will probably be blocked or partially blocked Wednesday, maybe into Thursday.
Can we get that shared on social media? I don't know who has that
Yeah.
kind of access
Yeah,
to that.
we put that in City Progress and just start sharing it on Facebook.
Yeah, I bet that's about, and Monty may have some other stuff to share, but that's about all I have.
No, those are good call outs,
And-
especially with the ammonia, that Rob Myers, and need to give hats off to Brad Mink and Rob Myers. Brad Mink for being such a good overall street department manager, because he allows his folks to breathe and do the jobs that they're paid to do, and so he has allowed Rob to operate within the capacity that he needs to operate to make that a success out there, and Rob has been all over. He would send me messages too, that, hey, here's where we're at, or, let me know, or he'd stop in the office and see me, because he eats, sleeps, and breathes that plant out there. And if everybody knows what that plant is, that's not an easy thing to do. Eat, sleep, and breathe. And so, but he puts his heart into it, and he works so hard, and he's done an outstanding job. And to Tim's point too, he made much quicker progress than where he was at, and what really, I don't know how he pulled it off. But
Well, I
he's
think
diligent.
one of the things that he explained was that they were attacking the problem, but to some extent, the problem was also resolving itself at the same time with the
So it's a
growth of the
twofold
bugs, and
effect. Yeah.
and so it was the effort they were putting forth to eliminate it at the same time of it was happening otherwise, but also got some with the
Yeah, he
get the
can
flow
slow it
readings
outside.
correct and so forth that they didn't have information before. It made a lot of difference. But
That's wonderful.
Bob had a good question today in regards to the plant and asking Rob if they had enough, if he felt like it'd have enough overflow capacity now with the enlarged lagoon. And Rob's answer was, we'll find out when we start seeing seeing a big event with snow melt and so forth, because they can't do some of the things with the new plant that they used to do with the old plant and pushing more water through it. And so hopefully we should be okay, but it is a little bit different.
Gotcha.
But that's about all I have.
No, thank you. Tito.
So yeah, I've been in contact with about splash pads, and I know the big question was the water flow and what water we'll have. I don't have exact numbers here, but I'll share what I have. Greenville, they started working on their splash pad last week, and they intend to have it up and ready for use by the summer. It is going to be 3,018 square feet. And they have a water flow of 151 gallons per minute. 151 gallons per minute. Of course, it's not always on, and so I'm gathering information about how that works. 90 days between Memorial Day and Labor Day is the time that you use it. Some of those days are inclement weather. Some of those days are school days, so I'm going to be coming up with a nice estimate there of how much. And then during the day, you can limit it between 12 and like 8 p.m. or something, and generally half of that time it might be on. So there you start getting into 3 to 4 hours a day. That's it's quite a bit of water. So that's for Greenville. I got two. Quotes for different sizes from one same company, and so I do have another couple companies to be working with. One is for a 2,016 square feet. I know we'd asked for 1,500, but when I gave him the estimated budget of 150,000, he gave me one. He gave me one for 2,000. So anyway, we might be able to finagle that back down. But anyway, that one is 130 gallons per minute. And he thinks it would be possible to maybe bring that down a little bit if it slipped my mind. We might be able to bring that down a little bit with a few adjustments here and there. The other one that we have is one it's much lower for $50,000 budget, 20 foot by 25 feet, so total 500 square feet, which I don't like because it's smaller than the baby pool. Like if you know the baby pool
Right.
But the flow rate for that was 50 gallons per minute. So yeah. So I'm going to be, there's also an issue of, I have to get together with our technicians to figure out what can we supply as water. Because depending on how much we can supply, the municipal water supply flow, there may be a need for an underground tank. So it wouldn't be that huge of a difference in the price. It would be additional, but to hedge for that flow, for the flow rate.
So there's a law of diminishing returns as you go down in square footage. Because for 500 square feet, you're using 50 gallons per minute, but for 4 times that size, you're using 130 gallons per minute. So you're only multiplying it 1.5 times for 500 for an extra 1,500 square feet.
Some of that is you have to charge the line to get to the park, and that's got so many gallons of water in that line.
Gotcha.
So that's the water loss on some of it.
Interesting though.
So it's a work in progress. I do have other couple companies to work with, and still want to reach out to another couple communities as well.
Cool.
Have you talked to anybody that has one yet?
Yes.
And have they been able to tell you water usage at all?
No. I mean, I spoke to Salina, but they referred me to their company and
Okay.
for that data. Yeah, that's one that I still need to reach out to.
Okay.
Well, good job. Appreciate you sharing. Monty?
Well, Tim told most of the stuff, so, I think the only thing that I have is that the community crossings paving has gone out for a bid, so we should have those back pretty shortly and
Excellent.
be able to.
Be probably an early or mid-summer project, are we thinking?
Yeah, probably. It just depends on when the contractors can get to it,
Right.
but yeah, we're looking for that. And then we've already got the, for the next round turned in, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's about all I have.
Good deal. Brian, did you have anything you wanted to?
Well, Tim stole my thunder too.
See,
No, I was just gonna say, I got a call today from, I believe it was area planning, because the person doing the demolition was there to get a permit, the
Yeah.
demolition permit this morning, and they needed me to, email over the copy of the order allowing us to enter and demolish. So I took that as a good sign. I didn't realize it was gonna be Wednesday, that's awesome, so.
Yeah, really.
I don't have anything else.
No.
What, should we sing happy birthday to Ryan like on air in front of
Probably not.
He doesn't want to hear us sing anymore.
That would be out of order.
Oh, that's a happy birthday, man. That's awesome.
Happy birthday.
Just what you wanted to do is come to a council meeting.
Absolutely. We could have cake and El Presidente margarita.
That's awesome. Well, we have no presenters, nor do we have old business, but we do have new business, starting with the ordinance 2021-04, which is the amending bulk water rate. And this is in reference to, is this reference to Cardinal? Or one of
Yeah,
this- yes.
Cardinal ethanol is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I think you should have your packets, details on this, and we had not had a rate increase with them since ever, or had
Ever.
Yeah.
Well, no, we did.
It was quite a while ago.
It's been, yeah, it's been
We did one time.
a significant amount of time. So, to ensure that we're keeping pace with, with everything that we're charging the rest of the general population, we need to have a rate increase. And so that's what that entails.
So I have some questions on that.
Yes.
So that's only for businesses that use 250,000 gallons per day.
Exactly.
This is not, it's a rate increase. There's a lot of talk about water
Yeah,
bills.
no,
That's
thanks for
not going to
clarifying.
affect anybody's water bill.
No.
Yeah.
If it is, you've got problems.
250,000 gallons per day. Okay.
No, thank you for the clarity.
And the difference is theirs does not go into the city's sewage system.
Correct.
It only gets pulled out from the city and doesn't get processed by the city. They burn it all off, so
Right.
Correct.
that's a big difference too.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir.
That's what all that steam is we see them.
Yeah,
Good point.
I had a question on this. Monty,
Yeah.
had you talked to, or has anybody talked to any other communities that sell water to ethanol plants? Is this rate increase in line with what other communities or our engineering companies recommending?
well, it is what, Baker Tilly, our accounting firm.
Okay.
That's what their
I
recommendation.
figured that, but I just didn't see that in there, so.
Now, Brad has talked to some other communities about their rates, but, I mean, this is what Baker Tilly came up with by taking all the expenses and stuff of running the plant
Okay.
into consideration.
Yeah, good question. Any other questions? If not, I would.
Well, it was just
Yeah.
amusing I was like, wow, I mean, first of all, my big question was who uses that much water, but thank you, the question's answered. But that's
That's all.
I mean, I'm sure it's a huge operation and I'm sure they can afford it, but I mean,
Tito, the ethanol plant actually uses about 1 million gallons of water every 24 hours from the city.
wow. Wow.
My only thing looking at item line D on this is
Mhm.
it's kind of confusing how it reads.
I agree with that.
It looks like it's gonna be 82 cents for 250,000 gallons.
It's 82 cents per 1,000 gallons.
That's where
The
that's
rate
not how I'm
gallons.
reading it.
The rate, bulk rate per 1,000 gallons, and the rate, yeah.
With a minimum
But if you read
average
it-
I
of
know, yeah,
250,000.
I just wanna make sure.
Stated
Yeah.
just like that, per
Yeah.
1,000 gallons,
Per
it's
1,000.
82 cents.
Which is huge because if they're using 1 million gallons a day, 250,000, I figured,
$4. No.
I figured that was $50,000 a day. If it's 250,000, so that's $200,000 a day. No?
My guess is you're missing a decimal point there, because I don't think that's right.
Jim, you know what the ethanol plant pays a month usually?
1,000 gallons times 20 cents.
No, okay.
250,000 times 20 cents.
No,
It's probably less than that.
Evidently, there's no math majors at this group.
Yeah,
$205.
Sounds right.
250,000 gallons.
Divided by 1,000,
Why would you divide it by 1,000?
because
That's
the bulk
the
rate is per
pricing.
1,000 gallons. So it's 1,000
Thousands,
gallons.
yeah.
1,000 gallons cost 82 cents.
Yeah, basically 250 times 82.
Okay.
Well, but
Using
if
a
you're
million
talking about
gallons,
a million
$120
gallons.
But I'm
day.
just going off the 250,000.
Yeah,
So it's like $820 a day for a million
yeah,
gallons.
820 a
That's what I
day
got.
Okay.
Yeah,
for 1 million gallons, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
But keep in mind, they're only shut down like 2 weeks the whole entire year.
Oh, yeah. And they employ people that live in town. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Plus, it sounds cheap, but then when you, like, in your personal water bill, you got the sewage, you know. you
And
figure the
trash.
Sewage and
Right.
trash and everything, it sounds a little more expensive, but.
Or buying a gallon of water somewhere at a
Yeah,
store.
yeah.
But I agree with Nathan, that line D does not, it's hard to decipher.
Well,
DD.
let's ask Ryan, because we might be beating a ant with a hammer. Ryan, are we in any kind of jeopardy
It does.
by having it worded that way in the line D, referring to bulk rate, 1,000 gallons is a bulk rate?
Yeah.
We used to take about a little less than 200.
The rate for all users with minimum average usage of 250,000 gallons per day is 82 cents.
It's under the heading of bulk rate per 1,000 gallons, so.
Yeah, so do we need to clarify that, or are we?
Yeah, you might want to. I mean,
I
if it's
think
under
so.
the,
I agree.
I think
I
it
mean,
could
if
be
you could
worded
just,
much more clearly.
yeah, add an A. put A, you know, and then put that under A, I suppose, or
A and
just to make sure, because,
Well, wait a minute.
is that right?
I mean, section 53.23 subsection D already states it like this.
Oh.
So there's more there. I think, I'd have to go get it, but.
So the other part of the ordinance clarifies that.
The only thing, I mean, this is the way the ordinance is stated right now. The only thing different is it says 82 cents
Yeah.
instead of what it used to
Just
say.
change
So
Gotcha.
Then I would
there's
just
no
keep-
There's
word.
no change from what it used to be.
Then I would just keep it
Okay.
that way.
So we'll just keep it as is.
Isn't that right, Mom?
Yep.
So, pretty
Just read
sure.
monkey all along.
But I
Yeah,
can
Jess.
double check that when we come back next, you know.
Yeah, because this is the first reading.
Read.
It is verbatim, I checked. It's
It is verbatim?
verbatim. The only
Okay.
thing that changes is that percent,
Okay,
that cost.
thank you for checking that. Well, if there are not any other questions, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move we approve ordinance 2021-04, ordinance amending the schedule of bulk water rate to be collected by the city of Union City from bulk users served by the waterworks of Union City by title only.
We have first, we have a second.
First reading.
Second.
We have first and second on the first reading. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Lahey.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin,
Yep.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Freeze.
Yes.
All right. Library sidewalk bid. We actually we did receive a couple different quotes for the sidewalk replacement and for the library, and we've also consulted with the library to get their participation in this through the library board. And Tim, if you don't mind, you guys did vote on that.
Yes. Yes, there are two bids. Monte had them, but
Oh, sorry.
first, that's okay.
KBL Transport had a bid of $8,662.50. And Joe Davis Construction had a bid of $8,400.
You guys have accepted the 8,400 bid?
Yes.
Is there any differences between the two?
No, the spec was the same, wasn't it?
Spec was the same? Are they tearing out?
No, that's
City's
that's
gonna
what
tear-
the city tearing out. And,
Yeah, that's on
and-
both of them.
Yeah, the city's
Okay.
tearing out, and disposing.
Is it just the Columbia Street
Yeah.
section?
190 feet on
From
Columbia
Division
Street.
to Hickory? That-
Yeah,
Oh.
it goes
Okay.
full length
So
from
it's-
Division to Hickory. Doesn't it?
190.
So it's not the ones that leading up to the building?
No.
No.
Okay.
I do have a question on this. And this may sound like an idiot, who owns the library? Is it a 501c3?
That's actually a very good question.
It's an entity.
It's a taxing entity in its own.
It is a taxing entity in its own. Is the
Subject to
library,
the same, oversight of the same oversight that the city has and the county has.
Yeah.
Is the library willing to kick in a portion of that?
Yeah, they're paying, they pledged 2,800. Let's see if I've got that. 2,800? Yeah, 2,800 is what the library's pledging toward that bid. So basically, we would be on the hook for, the 5,600
$5,600.
is what the city would be, putting forth in the project for the actual sidewalk replacement.
With us tearing out.
Correct.
I don't
think
mean
it
to be a
sounds expensive.
thorn in the side, but don't we require citizens to replace their own sidewalk?
Well, it's yes and no. I mean, we do offer to tear out also on our citizens, and then also with, this is a public entity that it's a bit of a public treasure, in fact. And in talking with the librarian, they wanted to commit to this whole project, but they had stuff on the building they had to take care of that they didn't anticipate. I think it was, I don't know if it was the roof or with one of the windows, but they had costs that incurred that they didn't plan for. So for the sidewalk to get done, that's what they can contribute.
Okay. I just, that's why I'm trying to clarify, because
No, absolutely.
if this was a business uptown or a personal residence, it would be a different conversation. That's what
The other part of this that's important is that's really the only section of the east side of Columbia Street that's not done. It's in bad shape, it's in disrepair, and I think by completing that project, it completes that
whole
corridor
run
that
from
connects
downtown all the way up.
downtown to
Yeah.
the north side shopping areas and so forth. So, it bites, but I think it's
Since that didn't get included with, wasn't able to be included
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
highway, the sidewalk on it.
plus that sidewalk's wider than the rest of the
Yeah.
sidewalk, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit bigger animal than what a residential sidewalk would be.
And it's also probably the busiest spot during State Line Heritage Days.
Mhm.
For the parade,
Oh,
for the
yeah.
parade.
Oh,
Yeah.
most definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would entertain a motion for approval if so considered.
I move that we approve bid of, was it 8,400?
Yes.
8,400 for sidewalk repair on Columbia Street in front of the library.
We have first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Oh,
Who's that?
It's Bob.
Bob.
That
And do we
was
need any
for-
clarity on
they're
terms of
both
the,
same.
in that
This-
motion, Jan,
8,400,
for
8,600.
the library contributing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
if,
should, because there were not,
we're
well,
not
you're
getting,
approving the bid, but then you're also saying that the city's only gonna pay 5,600.
yeah, if you guys want to make the amendment that city will only pay
Yep.
5,600 toward.
I'll amend that. First off, I cancel the last motion. I move that we approve the $8,400 bid for replacing sidewalk in front of the library with the library contributing $2,600,
28, sorry.
$2,800, and I'm as only as good at my information here, guys. So $2,800 for sidewalk in front of the library. The city will contribute the remaining.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Lahey,
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Prius.
Yes.
All right. And last one is the cancellation of warrants and outstanding checks. Jan, if you'd like to.
Yes. These are just checks that have been written and never been cashed. So they're no good after 2 years. So I have to, if they've been outstanding for 2 more years, then I cancel them out and the money is put into the fund where they would have come out of. So I just need council to approve me doing that, canceling them out of the system and adding money to the fund that it goes into.
Any questions?
I'll move that we accept the cancellation of warrants, old outstanding checks by title.
We have a first, do we have a second?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I'm just gonna be the thorn in the side all night. Can we write Brian Merrill his check and get it redone? Because I imagine he's lost it, and he's here every week, and
I don't even remember receiving it.
exactly. I mean,
I'd be
let's,
curious to know where the address it went to.
yeah.
That's a good call.
Well,
I think he wants
Well,
to donate it to our beer.
How about, that's fine, how about if I just donate that back to the city? Not a problem.
Well, here's, I mean, yeah, I can write the check, that has nothing to do with this stuff.
Okay,
This is checks, that if he found that check, it would be no good.
yeah.
And some of these checks on here doesn't necessarily mean we owe this money, because I could have done the same thing as what you're talking about now.
Perfect, that's what I wasn't
And which I
sure.
still have to check to make sure that I didn't do that,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay?
all right, perfect, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Regardless, just put it back to the city if it works out that way.
It was for $20 or
$19.
$19.58.
Sorry, Jan, I did apologize beforehand.
One less pizza you'll have.
I think we still have a motion on the floor.
Okay, who was that?
That was Tim.
Tim?
I'll second.
Bob, second. if we would, roll call vote?
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Lahey.
Yes.
Nathan Conklin.
Yes.
Tim Height.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the council at this time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Please state your name and.
I've already kind of breached this topic with Nate a week or so ago. I just wanted, the situation came up again while I was off last week. It came up again today. I'm out pretty much every day of the week talking to these new businesses. I'm working with them. I'm showing them buildings. We're doing all kinds of promotion and, you know, having conversations all day long. Presently, there, and Chad can back me up, Monty can back me up, presently there is absolutely zero assistance that we can offer some of these people. So what I would like you guys to maybe consider, along the same vein as your facade grant program, looking at some type of a short-term revolving loan program where some of these new businesses might have a chance to get some equipment, make some, you know, strides in updating their business and their services for our community, our citizens. I think it's completely your decision. I'm asking because it would help me when I'm having these conversations. We met with somebody at 4 o'clock, and that was the first thing that come out of their mouth is there any kind of assistance right now? And sadly, the answer to that question is no. You know, we'll meet with CN and Randolph County United, we'll put them in front of the SBA, we'll do all these things, and we'll do our due diligence, making sure all those things happen. But there's still, if somebody, you know, the boutique up the street, she was looking for a point of sale system. She was looking at some racks and things like that, and she just didn't have the cash on hand to be able to go out and confidently do that because young family, trying to start a business, going out on her own doing this, you know, that's tough. So I'm just kind of throwing that in your laps for some consideration and conversation on that.
If we were to say, like, you know, putting a cap on it, what would you say their need typically is? Is it $1,000, $5,000, $10,000?
I think it's all over the board. Chad and I just grossly talked to this afternoon, looking at something along the lines of the facade program. You guys kind of earmarked 40 grand, max of 10,000. That's 4 projects or 4 businesses you could potentially help in our business sector. And, you know, something along those simple general terms I think would be hugely beneficial. It ultimately becomes your approval one way or the other. You become the loan officer, so to speak. So if you don't like the deal, you avoid it. But if you like the deal and you want to give them $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for their project, then I think that's, you know, your choosing.
And on an agreeable payback term that that you're comfortable with.
I'm not that finance guy, but I know somebody sitting up there that has done that. So I think we can navigate it. Monty made mention this afternoon of previous programs that the city's offered and, you know, we've participated in as a third partner or whatever. I think there's information we can draw from the county because they did have a revolving loan fund, but they no longer have it, or there's no funds available for it.
Well, that's what I was going to speak to. Essentially, the fund was available, but it was state and federal funded, and there's such regulations, and there's so many paperwork and everything that has to be filed, and basically the state came to the Randolph County Economic Development prior to Randolph County United and said, you're going to have to pay like $5,000 to get these books audited, or we can close it out and you guys can keep what you essentially gained. And after a lot of debate and conversation, I was actually on the finance committee and a part of that from behind closed doors all the way to the meetings. It was not economical to essentially, it was a lot of money that to keep track of it was nearly impossible. But it was we were the smallest in the state by thousands of dollars. So in my interpretation, it was a very good program, and I actually know several different companies that utilized it, and it was great, and they paid back early. But from a size of our county to the amount of funds that we had available to us, they were trying to find a way to move our chips off the table. I hate that I'm saying it that way, but that's kind of how it appeared, making it economically impossible to keep the fund open. It was fantastic. I know of 5 businesses that successfully went through this program, paid it back early, and there's a couple loans on the books at Randolph County United that were not closed out. Those funds will then be kept by the county, and the last I knew, back in December, November, they were trying to find a way to re-leverage it, but there's certain parameters that we would have to rely on Mr. Prinky to correctly draft it and have it. I think it would be a fantastic idea to help a small business. Be forewarned, half the money that was given out at the county level did not come back. That was due to not correctly vetting people, not looking at their application, and not lending to somebody that was 100% trustworthy and kind of just fly by night, took the check, ran out, and the money was gone. So if we do this, we just need to understand there's a chance the business or businesses could fail, and if they failed, we will never see those funds again.
Right.
That's where it's a positive and a negative. It's a double-edged sword.
Right.
Yep.
We can benefit a community and an organization locally, but we also need to know it may not pay itself back.
Yeah, and that's why I was talking about like what are we talking, like $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, because a startup business, loaning that money to a startup business is high risk. I mean, there's no other way to put it, but I think it's an investment in the community and needs to be strongly considered. It really does.
And that's literally all we're asking for, just because, we're being asked that question from people trying to do the right thing and serve our citizens. They're trying to start a business.
Yep.
That question's being asked, so I'm tossing it back to you guys.
Yep.
Two things. Is there any wind farm money available for this type of thing? Does anyone know?
The city of Union City gets no wind farm money directly. Their economic development and the county commissioners would be the place to talk to on that.
And secondly, if you do this, and I agree with Steve, I strongly recommend that you consider it favorably, that you keep if you can't do a no interest loan, keep it very low. These startups they're shaky enough to start with.
Absolutely.
But if half of them succeed, we're way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So I'll add my 2 cents to Steve's recommendation.
Thank
This is something we need. And if we can get some wind farm money, that'd be great. If we don't ask, the answer is always no.
Well, we have asked, to be clear, but
The answer was no.
Opportunity to ask for that.
any other purpose.
Is what now?
knowledge,
Could this
Well,
be the opportunity to ask the
Winchester
county for
recently
that?
got some
The 100,000?
housing construction
Well,
project. So
Yeah, I mean, we
I'm sure
kind of
they
were
would feel
earmarking it for the
obligated
work to be
match
done out there
that.
in the industrial park, but I guess it comes down to how you guys want to allot it. Yes, Tim?
Well, go ahead, let Brian comment, and then I've got a comment.
Sorry, to get these businesses started, whether it's a good idea or not, still looking for great projects for my kids to do. So if they get to where it's a new business, how about a new business profile on K.I.S.S as a way to work that out? Have my kids go in and explain it, edit a good commercial, get them exposure on social media, that kind of thing. At least then get them a nice little boost as a thank you from the city of Union City to talk about a new business.
We could do that right now, in fact, with Fune's Boutique. So who do I need to send that information to?
Me,
Okay,
I'll put kids on it. Trust me, I had a good meeting today.
awesome,
My kids are gonna get busy.
awesome. Yes, Tim?
Well, at one time several years ago, I came in on the tail end of the revolving loan program that we had here in Union City, and that ultimately was dissolved mainly from lack of activity, and that's another story. But I think we can probably, with some careful planning, we could put something together to avoid some of the pitfalls. And one of the things that the losing, like the point of losing half the money, is a good example. But we had, for example, some loans in the neighborhood of $30,000. I know there's one around $15,000 that defaulted, and My vision for something like this, with as Steve brings it up, is that a good example is when she's looking for some money for point of sale equipment and so forth, where it may only be $1,000 to $5,000 for something like that. And my feeling is that you want to make this a fairly small thing so that it can't be the absolute make or break of whether people can be in business or not. Because if we're going to be the make or break on that, they're not going to make it. The biggest underestimation people make starting a small business is that people have the perception they're going to take income out of this in a fairly short period of time. And many people start businesses and work for years and years and years before they ever take the first dime out of it and put money into it as they go, besides just their initial investment. And partly because people underestimate things, like they don't think about what in my business, what their accounts receivable is. There may be $30,000 to $100,000 a month that's on average out, and that's just money you have out, and it's always out, it's always gone, so it's not at your disposal. So my feeling is that especially start fairly small with things to help people get over the hump of getting some of these things that they find that they need once they got started, and then realize that, hey, we need a little more sophisticated system to take credit cards. We need a cash register system, point of sale system, that type of thing. And I also feel like we ought to attach it to tangible goods that they're purchasing. But I think that's got potential to be helpful. And it could be, and same thing that, while we're encouraging new business, existing business could take advantage of that too. And it would be another reason to keep the increments small, so that you're not giving 35, 40, 50% of your money to some existing business and using up all the funds that you might need for others. So if you had a $5,000 limit, you had $50,000 in it, now you're helping 10 to 15 to 20 businesses, depending on the size of the loans.
Good point. Very good point. Well, if you guys would, then
I do have a question there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we're not going to be in the business of giving loans, right? We would do this through a bank, right?
No.
it'd be through economic development.
Through economic development.
I see.
Which is, I mean, that's like
Randolph County United, it was not a bank. It was
Right.
Yeah.
basically, in order to get the money from Randolph County Economic Development, you had to prove that you were denied by a local bank, and then prove that you attended an SBA class to make sure you're understanding your business. And then Randolph County United now would then potentially write the check, I mean, out of their bank account, and then there was a small interest-bearing loan tied to it with the monthly fixed payment.
That being said, it's also a pretty significant commitment on our part, not just for the financial side, but for the execution of this, because we are in charge. We are the bank at that point, which take on all the duties, and so it's not to be taken lightly on that in that regard.
Right. Just as you guys have bared out, there's a lot to consider
Yeah,
in something like this. So,
but I think it's worth looking at.
yeah, I agree. I think that seems to be the general consensus. So if you guys don't mind, over the next couple of weeks, just write down your thoughts on paper, you know, in terms of things that you know would have to be a part of this for you to feel comfortable about this, or at least want to move forward. And things that really leave you uneasy that you want to discuss. And get it out there in the open.
And I apologize a little bit for throwing numbers at it like that, but my way I have to do things, I have to insert the numbers and then try this practicality to see how it works. That's so I get maybe a little ahead of the game on that.
No, you're good.
Because I don't work in the abstract.
It's all right. It's all right.
In the past, to what Tim's talking about, I was around when we were doing that also.
Yeah.
And that particular program wasn't as well run as what Nate was talking about, what Tim's talking about. This can be done properly, and maybe we would lose 50%, but that doesn't scare me as much as losing all of it. And we pretty much lost all of it the last time around. And it didn't it didn't work out the way people wanted it to.
No.
Was there collateral on that? Was there, or was it just
No.
a personal guarantee?
It
I think it was a personal guarantee, because we never,
was a personal.
there should have been, and there, I think there should be some,
Because I remember being part of trying to recoup on 2 of that,
mhm.
and as I recall, there was no collateral.
No, and even if, you know, somebody says, well, if you help pay somebody buy, for example, a point of sale system, and you get it back, it's not gonna be used worth anything like what you paid for it. No, it's not, but they're not gonna have it anymore either, so that gives them the incentive to pay it back, because then they don't have that.
They just can't take it somewhere else and try to
It's-
start up shop
yeah.
somewhere
You're
else.
not gonna loan somebody 30,000 of your 50,000 start, you're talking about 5,000.
Right,
And better to make 10 $5,000 loans and get 6 of them paid back.
and maybe some of them are $1,000 loans,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
and, you know, one of the things about that, I go to the bank and try to borrow $1,000. And they look at you like you have 2 heads. You know, it used to be, I'll be like Bob and date myself, you know, where you say, I used to go to the bank and get a 90-day note, and
Yeah.
they'd write you a check for $1,000, $2,000, and you'd sign it, and you come back in 90 days and pay it back, and you might renew it sometime or something, but
That's not-
now they don't do
that's
any
not
of that.
even possible.
No.
It doesn't happen anymore, and that's what we could be a replacement for, is that type of thing. And a lot of the type things that people will purchase, they might have money available through the purchaser as far as financing, but it's a little predatorial. So it might be, yeah, you can get financing on that system,
Oh, yeah.
but it's
If
gonna
you wanna
cost
pay
you
30%,
10%,
Or 25.
20%,
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
And so we could, if we do this for you know, a few percentage points, then they can actually make that practical purchase. And it may not be that they can't get a loan at the bank, is that they can't borrow that small amount of money.
Right. Well, I appreciate all those comments, because what it shows forward thinking. It shows not just sitting here waiting for something to drop from the sky and hope that it does well. And we've got a role to play in this too. That's why we receive economic development funds. So if you take that for what it means, economic development, it means
That's
you
where you
develop
got that
something.
money.
Yeah, it's where you actually develop something. You know, it's not called economic sit-on-it funds. So anyway, but yeah, let's try to get the framework of something put together. Put your thoughts down on paper. Feel free to email them to. You okay with them sending you the email? Just email Steve your thoughts.
Well, I was actually gonna ask Steve, since you'll be in conversation with Missy, do you think you could get what economic development, Randolph County Economic Development used to have for a framework, and we can at least see what we like, what we don't like?
Yep.
I mean, I love the idea. I see a benefit if we can create a couple jobs out of something that somebody's running out of their garage. Fantastic. Unfortunately, that's part of the risk in today's world is you don't risk. You don't gamble a little bit, you don't succeed big. So
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
thank you. I was looking for one of those cliche things. I had nothing today.
You were there. Any other visitors wishing to address the council? If not, the date of the next
Oh,
council.
wait, pause
Yes.
real fast. We didn't discuss this, we all handed them out to each other for the ordinances. We went through the ordinances, mine was in the packet. There's a lot of information, we handed them out the last council meeting, everybody go through a section and kind of work through different days and things like that. Did you get a copy, Mr. Prinky?
I got Tim's copy.
Did you get a council packet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, mine's in the council packet.
Those mine.
Okay, can you see if the changes, highlights that we are suggesting are legal?
Yeah.
Because I don't know Indiana code hand forward and back. But
Believe me, I've
I
checked.
looked it up today.
if you could take a look at that and let us know
I
if,
wanted to take it down.
if we're on the right path, if we're allowed to do the suggestions, then at the next council meeting, or in 2 council meetings, because it was like 45 pages, it was a lot. So in 2 meetings, rediscuss that. Jan, could you put that as old business on the next council meeting or 2?
Revision of one.
Revisit ordinances, the 150s? To see if what we're doing is in line, or if we're clear off mark, then we'll have to break it down a little bit more simply.
Yeah, I
But
can do that.
I know we all had homework last time, sorry, now it's your turn. On your birthday.
I'm all about it.
That's what you do for a living, isn't it?
I live at the office, so it's all online.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, speaking of that next meeting, it'll be Monday, March 8th, at 6 PM right here. And the next Board of Public Works meeting is Monday, also March 8th, at 1 PM. I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have first, we have second.
I second.
First and second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned.